Hey YouTube, and thanks for checking out my video. Today we're going to be talking about the 10-inch Klock Werks windshield, the 11-inch Klock Werks windshield, and comparing them to stock. A couple notes I want to talk about before I get into the video. I'm 6'1" with a 32-inch inseam. I'm rocking a Bad Boys Python seat, which is going to impact ride height a little bit compared to the stock seat. It's up about an inch, inch and a half. Love the seat, but it does raise you a little bit, so something to keep in mind. And I've also done the vent mod on my fairing, which I'll show here in the video. And this allows us to modify the wind from the vent to go a little bit higher on your helmet than stock. It is something I recommend, and it almost worked perfectly for me to be able to rock this windshield, but just too much buffeting for my preference. I'm partial to the stock windshield. I have no issues with it. I love the feeling of the wind, but I am looking for something maybe that looks a little bit better, and I would always love a little bit more wind protection. Now, we're gonna start with the 10-inch windshield because that's what I have on my bike. We'll throw the stock windshield back on, and then lastly, we're gonna compare it to the new 11-inch Sport Flare windshield that Klock Werks recently came out with. I'm making this video to hopefully help you decide what windshield might be best for you. If you're looking for a windshield that gives you a little bit of compromise, looks and function. Now, if you want a windshield with amazing wind protection and you're only using your Road Glide for touring, I don't believe that either of these windshields are for you. You're gonna wanna look in their touring line. However, if you're looking for that middle ground of look, feel, and function, I do think the Sport Flare windshield is up there with one of the best options on the market. And the hope is that you find that sweet spot and a windshield that works for you. Again, everyone has different goals for their windshield. Some people, they want to be able to hear their music at highway speeds with no helmet on. Some people want to be able to just ride with a lid and no helmet. Those goals are not relevant for me. I wear a full-size helmet with a visor, and I'm just looking for a little bit improvement over stock, but ensuring that I don't have any wind buffeting. Part of why I've gone 6,000 miles and have not switched out my windshield, just due to knowing that it could increase buffeting. So without further ado, let's get into the 10-inch Sport Flare windshield. All right, so this is the Klock Werks 10-inch windshield from my eyesight point of view. It's actually, I'm gonna put the camera right where my eyes would be, and it's right about here. Again, I'm about 6'1" with a 32-inch inseam. And we'll use that Get Lowered banner as our benchmark for the rest of the windshields. It's covering the Get. You can kind of see the L, and it's not yet touching the fireplace, but overall not covering too much. So I'll use this shot for all three windshields so we can compare the visibility. But I love how it looks. I love the blacked out option. Let's get it out on the road and see how it performs and get a little bit of point of view action. A not too shabby 43 degrees, but it's nice and sunny and should be warm enough to get some of this video filmed. $50 degrees. Honestly, at this speed, you don't notice a difference with the windshield, but I can feel a little bit of air coming through the vents on the top of my helmet. You know, for me personally, the stock windshield feels good. So I'm just looking for maybe a little bit extra wind protection in the winter time and long trips. I'm not really looking to add a 14-inch windshield. I'll honestly just prefer stock if it comes to that, but at this speed, this is feeling okay. One thing to rate these windshield off of too is, how much they impact visibility. And for me, being about 6'1", I could see right over it, but it would be a lie to say it doesn't block a little bit of the road. But quite honestly, I don't think you should be looking that close to your bike anyways, other than slow speed scenarios maybe, but I don't think it has a negative impact or an impact on safety. This is the blacked out version too, and I'll be interested to see how the 11-inch impacts it. The 11-inch is actually about an inch and a half taller than the 10-inch, and it only comes in dark smoke. It doesn't come in the all black. So I'll be recording that portion of the video tomorrow. But let's get up to some highway speeds and see how this does. I'm gonna run this stretch of road for the 3 windshields near my house. It's a beautiful day out here in Reno. Snow on the mountains. My head is already vibrating at 65 miles an hour. I just don't have this effect with the stock windshield. In terms of the wind on my shoulders, right about here and here, you can start to feel the wind, but I wouldn't say it's too bad at all. You don't feel much wind out there, but my head is just vibrating at 63 miles an hour. I can feel the wind hitting, you know, right where my fingertips are, right about here. It does help quite a bit if I push this up though. It does move. A couple bikes out here, say what's up. They caught me, yup. Enjoying the 51-degree warm sun. But the vent mod does help quite a bit. You know, the wind is now around here. But the problem with the way that it hits your helmet is it just causes a lot of vibration and buffeting. So let's pull over and do a quick peek at the windshield. This looks like a dope spot. All right, from an aesthetic standpoint, I'm gonna give it a 9, I think. It just looks good. It's definitely designed for the 24 road glides. Doesn't look like a big old windshield. So aesthetically it gets a 9. But this is the 10-inch Klock Werks. Let's head back to my garage and throw on the stock. I would say the main thing I'm probably gonna knock this windshield off for me is the fact that I can't ride with the visor open above 60. Now typically at highway speeds you're closing your visor anyway, but I like to have the option to have it open. With the way that it's set up now, the wind just catches underneath the visor and creates too much turbulence. You go fast enough and the visor will just close by itself. All right, last look at the 10-inch. Let's throw on this stock windshield and get that on the road and check it out. Luckily, install and removal is super easy on these. Quick side-by-side shot. You can see it's not that much taller. It does look better. That stock there on the right. Stock windshield is back on. It's not as fun. It's not as exciting. It looks good. It looks sleek though. From a looks perspective, I'm gonna give it a 7, right? It looks stock, it looks nice. I think Harley could have done better. But overall, I'm happy with stock and how it feels. All right, here we have the rider's point of view, camera at my eyesight. And you can see a lot more of the Get Lowered Cycles text on my banner there. Just a shorter windshield, so no doubt about it. But overall, unobstructed view looks fine. Almost doesn't even look like you have a windshield. All right, first up, wind protection in the 40 to 50 mile an hour range. Yeah, I could say I noticed a small difference from going from the 10-inch Klock Werks back to this, but not a whole lot. Maybe it's a little bit louder wind noise wise, but yeah, I will give it to the 10-inch Klock Werks at this lower speed that there's a noticeable difference. Earlier I think I had felt no noticeable difference, but I am getting a little bit more wind noise. But gosh, I might prefer this stock over the 10-inch, that's for sure. Let's get up to speed and see about the buffeting. So in terms of where it's hitting on my helmet, it's hitting right about here. Wind hitting right at my nose. But this is a good helmet, so I'm not getting any buffeting. It feels like clean air. For comparison, the 10-inch Klock Werks hits me about here, which was creating head vibration and buffeting. The hope would be that the 11-inch goes above and over. From a rider's point of view, I can definitely see a lot more in front of the bike with the stock windshield. It's actually kind of nice, but I'm gonna say marginal difference. The 10-inch has that little hump right up here. Definitely a little bit louder in my helmet. I wear earplugs, it's not a big deal. Alright, I know my audio is gonna suck. It's hard at high speeds, but I'm feeling a lot more wind, no doubt about it, than the 10-inch Klock Werks. It's pretty noticeable. I haven't been back to stock in a while. Wind's still hitting me about here. I wonder if I push the mod up. See, if I use the wind fairing mod, it actually creates buffeting because of where the wind is hitting. But if I use my eyesight, not a whole lot of buffeting. We're up to 65, 70. It's loud, there's a lot of wind, but my head is not shaking. So I'm gonna have to pick and choose here. Alright, no doubt about it, the 10-inch Klock Werks is better than stock. However, the buffeting does not work for me. This looks like a good spot over here. All right, looks wise, it's clean. Not a lot going on. You almost don't notice it, and sometimes people prefer that look. I like the tint, but it's dark. It's clean, it's crisp. I'm undecided if I like the 10-inch Klock Werks or if I like this one better. But I don't mind the appearance of the stock windshield. The look from a cockpit perspective I really like. It's cleaner, it's simpler, less going on in my field of view. However, the wind protection is pretty poor. But as I mentioned, I've been riding that way for 6,000 miles and I actually never thought too much about it. It's one of those things that if you don't know any different, you don't know any different. We're gonna head back to the shop. We're gonna wrap up the stock and throw on the 11-inch Sport Flare. Back in the shop, let's finish up this portion of the video. All right, to wrap up my thoughts on the stock windshield. Looks nice, it's clean, it's crisp. Wind protection, almost none. However, no buffeting for me at 6'1". On the Python seat, it's a clean air. It's a lot more air, but I believe that impacts the amount of buffeting that I'm getting, where the wind is hitting me right about my mouth. compared to my forehead with the 10-inch Klock Werks. So me personally, I would have to run this over the 10-inch Klock Werks just due to the buffeting, but I'm hoping that throwing on the 11-inch is going to solve all of those problems. So let's go ahead and install the 11-inch windshield for the first time and get to that portion of the video. I'm going to pause the video right here. If this has helped you so far, consider the right windshield for you. Consider subscribing to my channel. Check out my seat review on the Python Bad Boy seat and some of my adventure touring trips. Most recently went to Big Sur and Yosemite, and that series is dropping right now. Thanks so much, and back to the video. Little trick for installation on the Klock Werks. It's really difficult to get this set up wrong. So you're gonna put a little bit of tape to hold this bottom piece up here. Okay, I say a little bit of tape, and then I put the biggest piece of tape I can. A little piece of tape up here, and that's just gonna hold the base plates. All right, first impressions of the 11-inch, it's noticeably taller. It follows a good curve of the bike. All right, going back to the rider's point of view perspective, it's tall. It covers almost all of the get lowered in comparison to the other windscreens. It looks good, however, it does look like you have a big windshield from the rider's perspective. It's going to take me some getting used to, but I'm going to give it its fair test in wind protection and hope that it's worth it. I'll have to step back and get some more shots in the sun here when I take it out, but I don't hate it. I don't love it. Overall, it looks clean and crisp. The hope is that the wind protection is worth it. So let's get it out on the road, do a POV look, and wind protection test. First impressions is it's not noticeably taller than the 10-inch from a rider's perspective. A little bit for sure, but I think that the tint versus the blacked out look makes a difference in terms of how it feels. It does look like I have a windshield on now, for sure. It's a little bit, it feels further out. I don't know if that's because it's tinted and not blacked out, but I don't mind the rider's perspective here at all. Already I'm feeling an improvement in wind protection. I'm going 50 miles an hour and it's feeling much better than stock, much better than the 10-inch. Color wise, I can see why it's not offered and blacked out. I can see it being a safety issue or obstructing too much of your view. The tint is actually pretty nice. I'm not sure I liked it at first. I was worried about it, but I can dig it. I can see it growing on me. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I do have the fairing vent mod, which allows me to angle it a little higher. You know, for the sake of fair testing, I'm using the stock configuration about maxed out, but when I get up to speed, I am going to try taking advantage of that and seeing if it makes any noticeable difference using this windshield. All right, from a view perspective, this is about as tall as I would be able to tolerate. Again, I'm 6'1", 32-inch inseam. I'm not sure that I could deal with a windshield any taller than this. It's just below my eyesight. which is perfect. I can look right over it, but it's close. I think I could get used to it and eventually not even see it. This will be the real test. Let's get up to about 60. No head buffeting. I would say the slightest bit of buffeting. Let's see where this is hitting my head. Right at the top of my helmet. 70 miles an hour. This is a substantial improvement from the 10-inch Klock Werks for me. I hope the audio is coming out better. It feels quieter, less wind noise. And what we're going to do here is push the fairing vent up. I can't say I notice a difference. Let's see if I lower it. That actually feels a little bit better at about the stock configuration max height there. Wind protection wise, I can feel some wind on my arms, but not a whole lot on my body. And not a whole lot of buffeting here. .70 to 80 miles an hour. There's a substantial improvement over the 10-inch for me personally. This looks like a good spot to pull over. Oh yeah. .11-inch Klock Werks Sport Flare in dark smoke. It looks good. A part of me likes it a little more than the 10-inch because it looks like a complete windshield and not a stubby or chopped. It's a bit tall, but I do like it. It's dark. It's almost not noticeable. And I think that that's what makes a good windshield. This is the biggest test of them all for me. Can I ride with my visor open, have some good wind protection? I'm not too worried about audio or recording or anything like that. So we're going to throw on the 60 camera. I'm going to do most of this portion with my visor open and see how that does for me. But then I'll close it, take some shots, show you guys where the wind is hitting my helmet, and we will wrap up in the shop. So unfortunately, during testing with my visor open, I ran into the same issues as the 10-inch windshield. Just created a lot of turbulence with the wind catching underneath my visor there. It's something I'll have to play with and maybe just get used to riding with my visor closed at highway speeds and deal with a little bit more wind protection. For the sake of where the wind is hitting my helmet, it's definitely higher. It's right about here. All right, we're back in the shop. We're gonna wrap up this comparison. Ultimately, after testing the 3 windshields, I'm gonna stick with the 11-inch Klock Werks Sport Flare for now. I'm gonna give it 1,000 miles. It's not perfect. There is some compromise with looks and function here in terms of wind protection. Now, in Klock Werks' defense, they don't advertise this as a touring windshield. They advertise it as a sport windshield, and they do have a line of touring windshields that start at 12 inches. However, I don't think I'm gonna go up into that point here for this bike. This was good enough for me. However, the one downside and really where I'm gonna knock both Klock Werks windshield is as a rider who likes to have their visor up on a full helmet, it created a lot more buffeting. Now, I have different goals than other people. A lot of people with their windshields, they wanna be able to listen to their music. They ride with lids and not full helmets, or no helmets at all. And me personally, I'll always ride with a full helmet or a modular at the very least. So I have different standards and I'm looking for a different function from my windshield. Of all the 3, the 11-inch for me at 6'1" did the best. I do think if I were to change this back to a stock seat, it would drop me just enough to where I would feel no wind on my head. And that's not really what I'm after either. I'd love some wind, but no buffeting is key. The stock windshield gives you a lot of wind, no buffeting, and no wind protection. The 10-inch Klock Werks, for me, it looks great. Love how it looks on the bike. It's just not usable due to the buffeting. I wanted to use it so bad. I went out of my way to look for mods that I could do to my fairing, one of which was the fairing vent mod. I will link that in the video below. However, for the 11-inch, it actually made it a little bit worse for me. So I'm running it at about the stock max open for the vent. This is the point in the video where I plug my channel. If this was helpful for you and helped you make the right decision for you on your windshield, consider checking out the rest of my content or some of my trip videos. Otherwise, ride safe out there.